Thank you for staying with us. Terry Springs here with Talking Solutions. There's an issue that I've been wanting to discuss for a while. We got Tanisha Bridgers in with us. It is Mental Health Awareness Month. And our state seems to have problems when it comes to mental health.
We're right at the top of the list for mental health issues.
And I don't even know, where do you start? We need to do a better job in so many areas. All you hear on the news is how bad we do when it comes to mental health. Situations like Ross and Neal, the psychiatric hospital, how there was a point in time where certainly I'm sure they're not doing it anymore, but taking and just putting people on a bus, getting a bus ticket out of town, just getting them out of the way.
Well, yeah, that's due to lack of resources. So we got to keep in mind that Nevada, the reason why we're at the top of the list for mental health issues is because Nevada is such a transit state. We have the gambling, which comes along with the fast life, which comes along with the drinking and drug addictions. And so a lot of people escape to Nevada to kind of live that lifestyle, or they get caught up in that lifestyle. And then that just sends them down on a downward spiral in terms of mental health issues. So yes.
Certain people just are really prone to an addictive type personality. So if you are falling down in one area, chances are all of the things that are easily exposed here in Las Vegas, the stuff you can get easy access to here in Southern Nevada, could really pull you down.
Right. Well, like you said, individuals that have addictive type personalities, this is the best and the worst place for them. This is the best place for them to act out and the worst place for them to reach recovery. I remember several years ago when I first started doing psychotherapy out here in Nevada, I had an individual who worked for UPS and was struggling with addiction and gambling. It's hard because you go into 7-Eleven, Walmart, the corner stores, and there's still the slot machines. So it is really difficult. And I think for me, we have to first start off with saying, what is mental health? A lot of people don't even understand what mental health is. Mental health is having a piece of well-being, a peace with your mind and your thoughts and the things that have transpired in your life. So we know it comes with mind, body, and soul. So mental health, a lot of people, and living in a state like Nevada, you're able to cover up your mental health issues because you're able to cover them up with the fast-paced life, the gambling, the addiction, the drinking. So a lot of individuals have mental health issues and they're not even aware that they have mental health issues because this has just become a pattern of behavior for them. Drinking every day, gambling, the fast life, these things have become a way of life. So to them, they don't even realize that they have mental health issues.
You have kind of described what mental health actually is, and that we're in a great place in Southern Nevada to be able to accommodate all of these little weaknesses that people have. The statistics that I've seen about how many people across the board, no matter where they live, that a very high percentage of the population does deal with mental health issues at one point or another in their lifetime. This is pretty common. How do you know you've got a problem? Or maybe you've got someone in your household. Maybe you've got a teenager or someone you're married to or someone just in your household who maybe is grappling with these issues. What are the warning signs? When do we know that we've got a problem, either dealing with ourselves or someone in close proximity?
The first thing is realizing when you don't have peace of mind. And there's the stigma that goes along with mental health, which also stops a lot of individuals from seeking the support that they need. People feel that if they have mental health issues, if they go to talk to someone, that must mean that they're crazy. Then you have the professionals who need the help, but they're afraid to go get the help because they don't want it to show up on their insurance, or the veterans who want the support, or the seniors. Nevada's comprised of 80% seniors. And so a lot of the seniors in my practice, I've realized that either they're isolated, their families have all died off, or their families are back on the East Coast. So they're suffering and depression. So some of the warning signs for mental health issues, again, would be a lack of peace of mind. And I think we all can wake up and attest and measure, how's my peace of mind today? And is it something that's going on situational? You could be doing well, but going through a divorce, or have just lost a family member, or transitioning from lack of employment. And so some of the warning signs for mental health would be depression and would be poor coping mechanisms, because we all go through times in life where we're sad or depressed, times of the month where we're not feeling up to our best. But when you're not feeling mentally well and you don't feel like you have peace, and maybe you've been through some situations that are traumatizing, whether it's abuse, molestation, domestic violence, and these things just continue to daunt you day in and day out. It's one thing to have a loss or be depressed or be separated and go through something for a few weeks, but when it's going on for months at a time, some of the signs, especially in loved ones, is isolation. When we're depressed, we tend to isolate ourselves. So if your loved one isn't coming out anymore, isn't returning phone calls, you go to their house, they're sitting in dark shades. A lot of the clients' houses we go to, they don't open the blinds. They're isolated. They're not bathing regularly. They're not taking care of their self. Self-care is something that's also a very big warning sign because, again, for the most part, we all pride ourselves in how we look. We love to get dressed. So when you see someone who is not taking care of their personal selves, their hygienic issues, the way they would be, isolation, poor self-care, negative self-talk is really important because what you're feeling on the inside is always going to come out on the outside. What goes in comes out. So if someone's talking always down or negative self-talk and isolation and things of that, changing habits, you used to go out, you used to interact with individuals, but now you're no longer doing things, or you find yourself picking up on some really poor coping habits. Now you find yourself going to the casino. It's okay to go gamble if that's what you enjoy doing, but now you find yourself gambling away money that you know are for different things, or now you're going to gamble or to drink to isolate, to numb the pain. Those would be some warning signs.
Gaming. People can go out and do that 24/7. It's just the nature of the lifestyle here. And when you start spending more than you had budgeted, I got $20 this week I can blow and play with and have a good time, and that'll be fun. That's not so much a problem. But when you keep going over and then you beat up on yourself, it's like, oh man, I didn't mean to do that.
Right.
I spent money that I really need for food and for rent and for the utilities and the car and all this stuff. And you get in over your head. I know that some of the big casino companies here in Southern Nevada, they do have, for problem gamblers, they have resources.
Yes, they do.
And I've seen on billboards and I've seen in advertisements and in casinos that if you're having a problem with gambling, we can help. They give you a path to follow. But what does the average person do if they start experiencing things like this, or if someone in their household is obviously going through that kind of a situation?
I would absolutely say seek consultation. You don't necessarily have to go in and see a therapist. And again, use your support system. Some individuals just don't believe in therapy, and that's fine, but use your support system. Prayerfully, we all have people that we go to when we're down. We know friends and family members that we can talk to. Talk to someone, or even call a therapist and say, this is what I'm seeing my husband or my daughter experience. Is this a red flag? What we have to do, again, as you said, it's one thing to spend an extra $50 on gaming than what you initially expected, but it's another thing to really realize what is the underlying issue. A lot of our clients who have come in that happen to have that type of an issue, the underlying issue is that I don't have enough funds. I don't have enough money to meet my bills, so I figure I can try to make money this way. We want to try to address the underlying issue for them, which would be income. So we try to talk to them about seeking other avenues and venues to bring in that income so that you don't have to do that. So just addressing the underlying issues. And if you feel that you're going through a transition, a lot of people see getting counseling and seeking mental health wellness as a sign of weakness, but it's actually a sign of strength. There's tons of educated individuals who are smart enough to know, hey, I'm going through this transition. Let me go talk to someone. It may be for a month. You may come in for just a couple of sessions. It doesn't have to be a long commitment, but I think just really taking the stigma away from seeking mental health. And I think educating the community, so many people, when you have an addiction, because a lot of times when you have poor mental health, it follows with some type of addiction, whether it's eating, alcoholism, drug abuse, anger, those things. I think we need to have more information and more shows such as this that are educating people about what mental health is and about what the red flags are, because some people may say, well, I get up every day and I have a beer as soon as I wake up. And I had no idea that I was really depressed from being molested as a child. So again, people don't really understand what the warning signs are, and they get so caught up in their coping patterns that they really don't take the time to step back and to evaluate that there is an underlying mental health issue. Knowing that it does not mean that you're crazy. It just means that you need some support.
Check in with somebody who can let you know.
Process
either that there's something that I need to work on and that I need some assistance with it, or no, you're really okay. Really,
right.
It's all right. By the way, today on Talking Solutions, we are hearing from Tanisha Bridgers, and we're talking about Mental Health Awareness Month. Very important topic for us here in Southern Nevada.
Yes.
We got problems in this area, quite honestly,
and
we need to work on it. So I think the first step is talking about it and letting people be aware, as you said, what mental health really is. We talked about the fact that everybody does get depressed every now and then. Of course, that's a normal part of life. But is the time when we might have a little bit of concern in the back of our mind when we can't let it go.
And it's all about process. You know, there's a grieving process. We've had clients that have come in and said, well, my husband died last month and I've been sad. Well, That's part of the process. It's part of the grieving process. So what we want to do is make sure that as we all go through these different phases of life, transitions, whether it's an empty nest syndrome from parents whose children have now gone away to school and now they have to redefine themselves, we're constantly redefining who we are in life and what our values are and what our priorities are. And so we definitely have to keep our own mental health check on ourselves. Even me as a clinician, I wake up and I do a mental health check. Where am I in my life? What are my priorities? What do I need to rearrange? And a lot of time, all counseling is helping you put your thoughts out on the table, and it's someone who's helping you sort through the junk, so to speak, the thoughts in your mind, and help you sort through them so that you can make the best decision for yourself. A lot of time, depression and mental unhealthiness comes from just a clutter of thoughts, a clutter of issues that you have not processed. It's almost like a traffic jam, So seeking mental health just helps to clarify your thoughts, put them out on the table, and help you really decide, weigh the pros and the cons. Well, if you move out of state, what will happen? If you stay, what will happen? If you leave them, what will happen if you go? If you confront this issue, if you change jobs, if you replace the gambling addiction, then what will you do? A lot of folks will say, well, what will I do all day? If I don't go to the casino, there's nothing else to do. So helping people identify resources out there. A lot of the seniors, they're isolated, they're lonely. So if they don't go, this is their way of socialization. So now offering them alternatives to say, well, did you know that there was this community program? Did you know that there was this support group? Did you know that there were these group of individuals that are seeking social support? So making sure that people have the right amount of social support and the right amount of resources.
That's a great idea. Giving them alternatives. Mm-hmm. There are more choices than going out for a drink or going out for some social gambling. There are other choices and really healthy choices.
Right. Getting people more active, changing your diet. A lot of times it's the things that you eat. It's the things that you do. A lot of people tend to have high anxiety as well due to the foods that we're eating, due to just the nature, due to us living in Las Vegas. And there's different ways to deal with your anxiety than drugs. Go for a walk, interact with people, build a social network. You love arts and crafts, make necklaces, do something. So there are other things that you can do to really deal with anxiety. At the root of it all is some form of anxiety as well.
You mentioned nutrition and mental health. I'm going through a degree program right now for nutrition, and I haven't gotten to my classes yet that will specifically identify the connection between nutrition and mental health.
Oh, yes.
And I saw that coming up, and I'm like, wow, really? I am very much used to a very healthy diet, and I'm the beneficiary of that. Nice, stable blood sugars. We don't have the spikes, the highs and lows, that desperate kind of hunger that has to do with simple carbohydrates. So I had not seen until recently that there could be some kind of a link between diet and mental health.
That's really important. And it's interesting how insurances are even making provisions for that as well. Insurances now, not only do they cover mental health, but they cover what we call psychosocial rehabilitation and basic skills training, where in an instance with nutrition, someone may come in for therapy, and then if the insurance covers it, which the majority of Medicaid and HPN insurances do cover, they're able to also obtain a psychosocial rehabilitation worker, which is someone who will help them find different ways to cope with their issues and do things like work on their nutrition and come up with a nutritional plan. So it's interesting, even though I'm a psychotherapist, a lot of times we're reviewing, what is your nutrition plan? What are you eating? What are your exercise habits? And far more than not, we find people that come in with mental health issues that are lacking in all of those areas. And so that's why in 2015, mental health is moving more to a collaborative, a holistic approach. So we're not just focusing on the mind, we're focusing on your body. Where are you spiritually? That's something else really important. Where are you spiritually? What faith do you have? And we tap into, if individuals have any type of spirituality, they believe in God, Jesus, or whatever, then we tap into that as well, because it is a mind, body, and spirit. We make up a whole. So I am glad to see, and even insurance companies are looking more now for a cohesiveness. So even when we do assessments, we have to find out, what are your eating habits? Are you going to the doctor regularly? Are you seeing a psychiatrist? Do you need to see a psychiatrist? These are things that have to occur now in order for someone to be whole as a person.
It's all pieces of the puzzle.
Yes, all works together.
It is Mental Health Awareness Month. Today on Talking Solutions, Tanisha Bridgers is here with us. One of the things that concerns me, Tanisha, when it comes to mental health is you're always hearing on the news about shootings in schools, in a shopping mall, any number of places. It's always shocking. We keep hearing about it. It seems like every time they come up with one of these situations where somebody just goes off and shoots people, the subject of mental illness always enters that conversation.
Because there's always a root to that. So as you're talking, I'm picturing the young boy who goes and shoots up the whole school. Obviously, there's some mental health issues, but at the root of that young boy was being picked on at school or is being abused at home. So it's interesting that you mentioned the schools because it's really important that we start young and we start there. I come from the East Coast. I come from New York, New Jersey, and they had social workers, guidance counselors, those individuals there in the elementaries and junior high and high schools, so that when you see a kid coming into school depressed or acting out or being picked on by other children, you don't just brush it by and focus on education. You refer him to someone there because that's how it all builds up. So again, stuff is shooting people, going on massive things of that nature. It all stems from a root. So I think it's really important that the schools start with early intervention, so to speak, on mental health issues for our youth, because our youth, we all have been teenagers once, and we know all the issues that even a healthy functioning teenager deals with. And then here in this type of a state with this type of issue, these students, their parents could be on drugs, alcohol, they could have been born addicted to drugs. So we want to make sure that the schools are educated as well and they're aware of the resources. The teacher's there to teach, not there to do counseling, but it's good that the teachers know the resources, so then when you see a child that's in need, you can refer them, because the sooner we start, the sooner we can undo the damage, so to speak. The less baggage a person has, the sooner we can address the issue, then the sooner we can fix the issue.
Well, the work on mental health should start young. That makes perfect sense. It is Mental Health Awareness Month. It seems like these days in the schools, they've cut out all those unnecessary programs, which I'm sure does nothing but make the whole task harder.
Right. And we know that it's a budgeting issue, so we can only change what we can change. But what I've seen in my tenure here in Nevada is that the schools are receptive. They're receptive to learning about mental health. They're receptive to bringing in mental health professionals such as myself to speak on Parents' Night on the first day of school, because they're starting to really see the consequences. These children are failing school. They're disruptive in the classroom, which brings more stress to our teachers. So the positive in that is that schools are very receptive to mental health and the resources available, and I've seen that schools are starting to use them more often, so that's the good part.
There are also resources out there that don't have any cost involved. I know that in my work in past years with the Salvation Army, they have a tremendously good addiction program, usually dealing with an older type person than the school kids that we were just talking about. But I know that they provide addiction services free of cost. And by all the donations we give to the Salvation Army, that then benefits us in the community. Because all of these people that we can help and get back on their feet and feeling normal and learning how to deal with these issues and put them aside and go on, the more that goes on, the healthier our community is as a whole.
Right. And I think you hit it right on the nose, because one of the biggest barriers to mental health has been in the past the finances. And so I know, obviously, we have Mobile Mental Health as a for-profit agency, but what I realized after 2 years of business is that there are individuals who want mental health but can't afford it. And so because I, as a therapist and a social worker, my primary concern is helping individuals, we created what we call a community give back program, where we have students that are working on their degrees, whether it's at UNLV, mental health therapists, or University of Phoenix. They're able to go to places like the Salvation Army, Shade Tree, the Rescue Mission, recovery homes, and they're able to provide those services, mental health counseling to individuals at no cost. And even for us, we have individuals who say, I want mental health, I can't afford it. And we make provisions to give them those services. One of the good things about the Obamacare, what I've noticed, is that it did give about 200,000 more individuals insurance. And so a lot of individuals who 2 years ago weren't able to come in and get counseling, now they have insurance, and insurance is now covering it. And insurances are supportive in terms of appropriate mental health services being delivered. So again, I see mental health on the rise and mental health issues, and the lack of funds have been a big issue. And we created a nonprofit on the back of that, is Nevada Improvement Project, a nonprofit organization, which we had to create because, again, someone may come in because they're depressed from lack of work, and now if they've sought counseling for 4 or 5 months, they're ready to get out there, but they don't have the clothes. They don't have the bus passes to get there. And so how do we help them? So we created Nevada Improvement Project, which is a nonprofit organization that helps people with ancillary needs. Well, great. Well, Terry, we're going to be able to get you an outfit. We know we have places like Dress for Success, but they can only service so many people. Nevada has millions of individuals here. So we've had to kind of create programs, and I see a lot of organizations doing such to help fill in a gap, because even once you get through that depression, now now you're ready to get out there, but you may lack resources. And resources is at the root of a lot of these mental health issues.
To get people back on their feet and out and functioning now that they're feeling better, that they've dealt with some of these mental health issues. And they're like, I want to go get a job now. But as you mentioned, there are some stumbling blocks. We are so fortunate to have a lot of different organizations that will help.
Yes.
The problem, I think, is knowing where to go. I know last week I had Lutheran Social Services of Nevada in, and I know that they provide resume services. They have the new Empowerment Center for helping you find a job. They will help you with skills on the computer if you need it. They have a food bank that's open to anyone. They will also give you nutrition counseling as far as working with the foods that you pick up at the food bank. There are so many things. They'll give you bus passes if you can't get to work. They can help you with a work card. If you need a birth certificate through all these problems that someone may have encountered, they can help you with that. So we do have different groups, but it's just getting that person who's ready to take the next step and move forward and making sure that they know where the resources are.
And Terry, you hit it right on the nose, knowing the resources. And for myself, as a psychotherapist, therapy has changed in the new millennium. 20, 30 years ago, if you were a therapist in private practice, someone would come in, you do an hour worth of therapy and leave. But I challenge a lot of mental health clinicians now to know that in the millennium, you may not be a resource finder or a resource giver, but you're not doing your job to the fullest capacity if you're not aware of what resources are out there in the community. So yes, you may be just focusing on the therapy, the depression, the anxiety, the transition, the trauma. However, you need to know what's out there so that you can say, okay, Terry, we've addressed your depression in this therapy session. Let me give you some resources for housing, for food, for clothing, for socialization. So one of the biggest and most important things, especially today, is for mental health professionals to know the resources that are out there. It may not be your focus, but you need to know whose focus it is so that you can service your client in the right capacity. Because if the client is coming to therapy because they're depressed because they don't have enough food, how can I continue to see you once a week without referring you or without finding a resource to help you with that?
Helping you solve that problem rather than just having a session with them and then patting them on the back and going, hey, you're good. Good luck now.
Right.
And showing
well, now
the
we
door.
Talked about it. See you next week, same time, same place. The object for therapy is never to be forever or ongoing. It's supposed to be goal-oriented, time-focused, and the idea is to get them in and to get them out, however long that may take, whether that takes a year, 2 years, 3 months, 4 months. But a lot of the times what I found is after they've talked it out for a while, processed it for a while, now they just need the resources. They need the tools. So we say in therapy, I'm going to give you a toolbox, Terry, and you'll have this toolbox, and I'm going to show you how to use each one of these tools so that now when we're no longer together, you can dig in your toolbox and say, this is the tool I need to use to get through this. That's what's most important, resources and making sure individuals are aware of what resources are out there.
So you're giving them the foundation, making sure that they're steady and stable and ready to advance to the next point.
Yes, giving them all the tools that they'll need to succeed, and all they have to do is have the mindset and be ready to do them.
We could fix this mental health problem here in Nevada.
Yes, we can.
I mean, I know we have a ways to go because we're so far down, but it sounds like there are some healthy approaches.
Yes.
And it also sounds like, especially where children are concerned, the younger the better, to start identifying those problems, seeing what is causing the problem, so that we can help them fix it. And it seems like talking about it is so critical.
Right.
Because I know that a lot of times when people are depressed, as you mentioned earlier, they just kind of become more introverted. And they don't talk to people and they don't take care of themselves. And they just draw the shades and they shrink back and they kind of check out of society.
Right. Which goes back to the stigma. And so the more we do shows like this, we have a show that we're trying to do, Mental Health Matters. So even when I turn on my TV and I'm watching the Jerry Springers and all these shows, and I'm like, it would be awesome if they had a show during the daytime when these individuals are just watching TV, which is another coping habit for depression, binge watching TV, sitting on the couch all day long, and educating. So I think when people start to see, wow, I'm not the only person feeling this way. Yes, I'm a senior and I'm feeling really depressed and isolated, but I hear them on the radio, I see them on TV, and they're saying this is normal to go through this. So again, taking away the stigma by education. When I do shows like this, we get phone calls right away because individuals are saying, I thought it was only me. I thought something was wrong with me. But when I heard you on the show, it made me realize that I can get through this and I'm not crazy. I just need to talk it out. So again, education. Education, education to remove the stigma of mental health.
This is why it's so great having you in here today for Mental Health Awareness Month. Tanisha Bridgers, you mentioned getting calls, people contacting you. I want that. I want lots of that. If you have any of these issues, whether it's you or someone in your household, maybe you're a parent and you see something in your kid. And even though, they're going toward those teen years where we all clam up and it's hard anyway, even in the best scenario. If I was looking for guidance for whomever, where do I go from here?
If you wanted to contact Mobile Mental Health Support Services, you can contact us at 702-556-1511. Again, that's 702-556-1511. You can also contact Nevada Improvement Project at the same number for resources, or you can simply honestly call the back of your insurance card. If you have insurance, call the back of your insurance card and say, hey, I think I'm going through a little depression. I'd like to have some therapy. And your insurance will give you a list of providers. You can go online and Google mental health therapy, mental health at no cost if finances are your issue. And so one thing that I have seen in the last 10, 11 years here in Nevada, there are so many support agencies that are awesome that are in place, even outside of mobile mental health, that are there to help. So whether it's Mobile Mental Health, Nevada Improvement Project, or wherever, seek help. Whether it's from family, friends, you can go online, you can Google. I always encourage people to turn to the back of their insurance card, call that 1-800 number on the back of your insurance card, and they will give you a list of mental health providers for you to choose from. And you can go see a couple of them and see who you're comfortable with, or interview. And I encourage individuals to interview the therapist. Interview the therapist as well to make sure it's a good fit. And then when you find someone who's a good fit, just the changes that we see from individuals, from the way that their spirits are when they come in, and now they're back dressing and they're back wearing makeup again and they're feeling really good, and it's just that relief. Just because you have a therapist doesn't mean you have to come or need to come every week. I have some clients that say, I'm going to call you when I need you. We put their charts aside, and when they're going through something, they call us, or you know what, I think I've got it, but I just want to come once a month just for a checkup, just like how we do for our doctor visits, a check-in, a checkup, a mental health checkup. So if you seek support services in mental health, doesn't need that it has to be consistent. If you need it, that's great. But if not, it's okay. You can have mental health checkups as well.
Part of the whole support system.
Yes, it is.
You've just been full of information today. This is a great way to celebrate Mental Health Awareness Month. Is the month of May. I knew I could get you in here before the month was over so we could talk about this very important issue. Nevada constantly ranked at the bottom, but it sounds like really seriously there's a bright future for just reaching out and asking for some help.
There is. Mental health absolutely does matter, and there are support and resources out there.
Tanisha Bridgers is here, and it is Mental Health Awareness Month, as we mentioned. And for someone who would like to get a contact with you, could you give me those numbers one more time?
Yes. So you can contact me directly at 702-556-1511. Again, that's 702-556-1511. Mobile Mental Health Support Services and Nevada Improvement Project.
We'll make sure that all of those numbers, all the information, contact links, and everything are available on our Talking Solutions Facebook page. What an informative discussion. I'm so glad you came in to see us.
Thank you. I'm so appreciative that you took the time out to have a show like this to educate individuals, because this is where the stigma stops and the help starts. So I appreciate you for taking the time out to even have this show.
Well, thank you for joining us. Tanisha Bridgers is Talking Solutions.
It's been a pleasure.
Talking Solutions is a production of the Community Relations Department here at Beasley Media Group, Las Vegas. Get more information on today's topic on our Talking Solutions page on Facebook, where you will also find links and a podcast of today's show. Thanks for listening, and have a great week.